Welcome to Bible Lectures, a quiet sanctuary for hearts that long to rest in the Word of God. If you wish to walk with us through the beauty of Scripture, you may gently subscribe so that each night the peace of His Word may find you again. Tonight we begin our journey through the Book of Proverbs, a sacred collection of wisdom given through Solomon, the son of David and king of Israel. These words are not distant history. They are the living breath of divine truth, whispering to those who seek light in a restless world. The Book of Proverbs opens like the gentle voice of a father guiding his child. It is written for all who desire understanding, for the humble, for the broken, for those who wish to live with integrity and peace. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, Solomon writes. And this holy fear is not terror, but reverence, a quiet awe that turns the heart toward what is pure and eternal. To fear the Lord is to love what is right, to listen before speaking, and to walk gently before others, knowing that every breath is seen by God. I remember when I first read these words in a time of confusion and noise. They came to me like a calm wind after a storm. The wisdom of Solomon is not loud. It does not demand attention. It invites us into stillness. It speaks softly of balance, patience, and humility, of trusting the Lord when reason feels weak, of walking the narrow path even when the wider road seems easier. As I listened, I realized that these ancient sentences carry the same truth we need today, a truth that reaches beyond time, teaching us that peace does not come from control but from surrender. Solomon speaks as a father who loves deeply. He warns of the traps that lie along the way, of greed, anger, and deceit, and yet he does not condemn. His tone is tender, full of hope, believing that the human heart can still turn back to light. He calls his listener to treasure wisdom as one would search for silver, to seek understanding as if digging for hidden gold. The more we seek, the more we discover that wisdom is not a distant mountain to climb, but a voice already near, waiting to be heard in quiet moments of faith. As this journey begins, let the words of Proverbs settle softly within you. You do not need to strive or analyze. Simply listen and let the truth move gently through your heart. Each verse is a candle in the dark, each pause a breath of peace. Wherever you are, whatever burdens you carry, this is a moment to release them into the stillness of God's presence. Take a slow breath now and rest in His peace. The words of the Father continue, calm and patient, like a steady hand guiding His child through the dim light of evening. The Book of Proverbs moves gently from its opening whisper into the intimate space of a conversation between parent and child. It is not a lecture meant to impress or control. It is a tender reminder that wisdom is learned by listening and lived by love. Solomon speaks with a voice both strong and compassionate, shaping each sentence like a seed planted in soft soil, hoping it will take root and grow within the heart that receives it. My child, if you accept my words and store up my commands within you, if you turn your ear to wisdom and apply your heart to understanding, then you will find the knowledge of God. The sentence breathes with patience. It tells us that wisdom is not instant. It grows quietly in those who are willing to seek. The Father does not force His Son to obey. He invites him to walk with intention, to let wisdom become a friend rather than a rule. Every heart that searches honestly for understanding is already close to the truth. In this teaching, the Father reveals a simple truth. There are two paths before every human being. One leads to light, peace, and steady steps. The other is crooked, dark, and full of stumbling stones. The road of the righteous shines brighter each day. The road of the wicked fades into confusion. Solomon is not describing punishment. He is describing consequence. The soul that walks with integrity moves in harmony with the laws of creation. The one who chooses deceit walks against them, and therefore feels unrest. The Father's warning is both gentle and real. Avoid the path of the violent. Do not step where blood is shed, for their feet run to evil, and they do not know the cost of their haste. There is compassion in every warning. The Father knows that temptation does not appear as danger. It appears as excitement, adventure, opportunity. That is why he speaks early and often, urging his Son to look beneath appearances. He teaches that wisdom is a protection, a guardian that watches the way and keeps the traveler safe. He says, "When wisdom enters your heart and knowledge is pleasant to your soul, discretion will protect you and understanding will guard you." These are the quiet promises that faith gives, the assurance that truth, once planted in the heart, will guide every step even when the path grows dim. I think about these words often. There are times when my own choices have wandered away from wisdom, when impatience seemed easier than trust. It is in those moments that the Father's counsel feels most human. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your paths straight. That is not an order, it is an invitation. It tells us that God does not demand perfection, he desires closeness. When we walk with him, even the rough road becomes steady. The Father continues, "Do not be wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord and turn away from evil. This brings health to your body and nourishment to your bones." He is reminding us that wisdom is not only for the mind, it heals the entire being. Peace with God becomes peace within ourselves. When guilt fades, sleep returns. When pride softens, the heart breathes easier. The teachings of Proverbs are not abstract. They are practical truths about how faith brings rest to weary souls. Then his tone changes, becoming even softer. "My son, do not despise the Lord's discipline, and do not resent his correction. For the Lord disciplines those he loves as a father, the son he delights in." This verse is tender and profound. It teaches that correction is not rejection. When life feels heavy and prayers seem unanswered, it is often the gentle shaping of a loving God preparing us for deeper wisdom. Discipline is the way love strengthens what is weak, not the way anger punishes what is wrong. Solomon's teaching flows with rhythm, moving from counsel to reflection, from advice to blessing. He says, "Blessed are those who find wisdom, those who gain understanding, for she is more profitable than silver and yields better returns than gold. She is more precious than rubies. Nothing you desire can compare with her." These words lift the heart away from material striving and back to eternal perspective. They remind us that the greatest wealth is not possession but peace, not control but clarity. Imagine the Father and Son walking together in the soft light of dawn. The Father points toward the horizon and says, "The path of the righteous is like the morning sun, shining ever brighter till the full light of day." The image is gentle but full of power. It tells us that spiritual growth is not sudden, it is progressive. Each step of humility and faith brings more light. Each act of kindness widens the dawn. "The way of the wicked," he says, "is like deep darkness. They do not know what makes them stumble." The contrast is not meant to frighten. It is meant to awaken awareness, to remind the listener that peace and confusion both begin within. When I hear these verses, I think about how wisdom often speaks through silence. It is not always found in sermons or books. Sometimes it is felt in the quiet nudge of conscience, in the calm that comes after choosing patience instead of anger. The Father's lessons are timeless because they meet us in the small details of life, in how we speak, how we forgive, how we treat those who cannot repay us. Wisdom is not knowledge. It is kindness practiced with purpose. The teaching ends with hope. Hold on to instruction, Do not let it go. Guard it well, for it is your life. Keep your eyes fixed straight ahead. Give careful thought to the paths of your feet, and all your ways will be sure. These closing lines are a blessing more than a rule. They tell us that every step guided by faith becomes part of a greater design. The righteous path is not about reaching a destination, but about walking daily with awareness and gratitude. As the night deepens and the voice of the Father fades into stillness, let His words settle like gentle rain upon the soul. Wisdom is not far, it is near, waiting in the quiet of your heart, calling you to walk slowly, to listen carefully, and to rest in the peace of God's care. The voice of the Father fades into a deeper stillness, and in that silence, another voice begins to rise. It is the voice of wisdom herself, clear and steady, moving through the streets, calling from the crossroads, where every soul must choose which way to walk. She does not speak from a throne or a temple. She stands where people live their daily lives, where choices are made in haste and distractions fill the air. Her tone is not harsh but patient, not proud but strong. She calls out to all who will listen, to the simple, to the weary, to those who have wandered too long in confusion. How long will you love simplicity? She asks. How long will mockers delight in mockery and fools hate knowledge? Her questions are not meant to shame. They are meant to awaken. Wisdom does not hide herself behind walls or speak only to scholars. She walks among the noise, the markets, the crowded corners, where life happens without thought. She calls from the gates, from the heart of the city, where human ambition burns brightest. It is as though she is saying, I am here in the middle of your world, not far from your confusion, not above your struggle. Listen to me, and you will live. The invitation is gentle, but it carries a deep promise. She says, if you turn at my reproof, behold, I will pour out my spirit to you. I will make my words known to you. This is not just poetry. It is a declaration of grace. Even to those who have ignored her, she offers another chance, another day to begin again. The Book of Proverbs paints wisdom as a living presence, almost like the breath of God woven into the world. She is the light that enters through honesty, the peace that settles after forgiveness, the quiet joy that follows a humble act. To listen to wisdom is to align one's heart with the rhythm of creation. Yet many pass her by, distracted by desire, by pride, by the false promise that strength comes from self and not from surrender. Solomon writes that those who refuse to hear will eventually face the echo of their own choices. When calamity comes, when distress surrounds, they will seek wisdom and not find her, not because she is gone, but because their hearts have grown deaf. There is something deeply human in this image. We have all heard that inner whisper before, the one that tells us to wait, to be kind, to turn back. Sometimes we silence it, afraid of what obedience might cost. But the whisper remains. It does not vanish. It waits. That is the mercy of God woven into the voice of wisdom. She never forces, she invites. Her call is the same now as it was in Solomon's time, a call to return to what is pure and true before the noise of the world hardens the heart. I think of the moments in my own life when wisdom spoke quietly and I did not listen. Perhaps you felt the same. Those moments when something inside said, do not rush, do not answer in anger, do not follow the crowd. Yet the world around us moves fast, urging us to react, to prove, to win. Wisdom stands apart from that current. She waits at the edge of the noise and says, come away for a moment. Listen. Her voice is calm, her presence steady. In her stillness, there is strength. The beauty of Proverbs is that it does not separate faith from daily life. Wisdom does not live only in temples or prayers. She lives in kindness to a stranger, in honesty when no one is watching, in patience with those who test us. To walk with wisdom is to walk with God in ordinary things. The quiet choices, the small sacrifices, the unseen acts of compassion become the language of divine fellowship. Solomon shows that holiness is not distant. It is hidden in how we live each hour. As wisdom speaks, her tone shifts from invitation to warning. "Because I have called, and you refused," she says, "I stretched out my hand and no one paid attention. You neglected my counsel and did not want my correction. Therefore you will eat the fruit of your ways and be filled with the result of your own schemes." These are not words of cruelty, but of consequence. Wisdom cannot protect those who reject her, not because she ceases to care, but because freedom is real. Love gives choice, and choice carries weight. The sorrow in her voice is not anger. It is compassion for those who must learn through pain what they could have learned through trust. When I hear these verses, I do not hear condemnation. I hear longing. Wisdom desires to be heard because she knows the cost of ignoring her. She stands where the roads divide, watching travelers hurry past, hoping someone will stop. Her words promise safety to those who listen. "Whoever listens to me will dwell secure and will be at ease without fear of harm." That sentence alone feels like a gentle hand over the heart. To dwell secure does not mean life without struggle. It means peace within struggle, a calm center that remains even when the world shakes. There is a tenderness in how Scripture describes her. She does not shout over the noise of the market. She speaks through it. Her voice meets us where we are. In the modern world, the streets are digital. The noise comes from screens, but her tone has not changed. In every age, she calls us back to stillness, to thought, to truth. She says, "Turn your ear, open your heart, let go of the illusion that you already know enough." Wisdom begins where certainty ends. As the chapter closes, Solomon leaves his listener with both warning and comfort. "The complacency of fools will destroy them, but whoever listens to me will live in safety." The image of wisdom standing in the street lingers like a vision of grace offered freely. No matter how far we have wandered, her voice can still be heard if we quiet ourselves long enough. That is perhaps the greatest miracle of all, that divine truth never stops reaching for us. So as you rest tonight, imagine the streets of your own life quieting down. The noise of worry fades, the lights grow dim, and somewhere in the stillness, a voice speaks, gentle and sure. It does not condemn, it calls. It does not demand, it invites. Listen to her, for her words are life. Let them find a home in your thoughts, a rhythm in your breath, a calmness in your heart. The one who listens to wisdom will dwell secure. The night may be long, but her voice will keep the soul in peace. The voice of wisdom softens, becoming like a calm river that runs beneath the noise of life. Her words no longer cry out from the streets, but flow inward into the quiet chambers of the heart. This is where the true search begins, not in the markets of the city, but in the hidden places of the soul. The Father's teaching returns, echoing through the voice of Solomon. "My child, if you receive my words and treasure my commands within you, turning your ear to wisdom and applying your heart to understanding, if you cry out for insight and lift your voice for understanding, then you will find the knowledge of God." These verses describe a journey, one that every heart must take alone, yet never without divine company. Understanding is not something the world can sell or teach. It is not cleverness or debate. It is a light that grows from humility, a gift that blooms when we finally admit that we do not know enough. Solomon calls it a treasure because it cannot be bought. It must be sought. The treasure of understanding lies hidden in faith, in patience, in surrender. The more one seeks it for personal gain, the further it hides. The more one seeks it to know God, the more freely it appears. In life, we search for many things, but wisdom asks, what are you truly seeking? Are you chasing comfort, recognition, security, or truth? To find the knowledge of God is to discover that the truest wealth does not fill the hands, it fills the soul. When Solomon says that wisdom enters the heart, he speaks of a transformation. The one who once acted from fear begins to act from peace. The one who once spoke in haste begins to speak with care. The one who once judged begins to understand. The treasure of understanding changes not the world outside, but the vision within. The Father continues, the Lord gives wisdom. From his mouth come knowledge and understanding. He holds success in store for the upright. He is a shield to those whose walk is blameless, for he guards the course of the just and protects the way of his faithful ones. These words are not promises of comfort without challenge, but of presence within hardship. The shield of the Lord does not remove battle, it makes courage possible. The one who walks with integrity may still face storms, but he will not be lost within them. When understanding enters the heart, something quiet begins to change. Decisions slow down. The rush to speak fades. Compassion grows. The world no longer feels divided between success and failure, gain and loss. Life becomes a classroom where even pain becomes a teacher. The wise do not avoid suffering. They listen to what it reveals. They see that loss exposes what was never real, that disappointment uncovers deeper longing, that weakness draws the soul nearer to grace. This is why Solomon calls understanding a treasure. It turns even sorrow into something sacred. There is a moment in every person's life when they realize that intelligence alone cannot bring peace. We can fill the mind with knowledge and still feel empty. We can win arguments and still lose ourselves. Understanding is not about being right, it is about being real. It is learning to see people as God sees them, to forgive what seems unforgivable, to hope when logic says hope is foolish. That kind of seeing cannot be learned in books. It is born in the quiet honesty of prayer, in the still hours when the heart listens more than it speaks. The Father's words turn now toward protection. Wisdom will save you from the ways of wicked men, from those whose words are perverse, who leave the straight paths to walk in dark ways. This is more than a warning against crime or violence. It is a warning against corruption of spirit. The crooked path begins not with great evil, but with small compromises. The little lies that seem harmless, the envy that goes unchecked, the resentment that grows unnoticed. Understanding protects the heart by showing these seeds before they grow. It whispers, do not plant that thought. Do not water that bitterness, for what begins in shadow will bear fruit in sorrow. He also warns of the temptation that comes through false love, the flattering tongue that leads away from truth. The adulteress in Proverbs is not only a person but a symbol, representing all the desires that promise joy but bring emptiness. She speaks of pleasure but hides consequence. Her words are sweet for a moment, but they turn bitter like gall. Wisdom saves by revealing the full picture before the choice is made. It shows where the road leads, not just where it begins. The treasure of understanding is the ability to see beyond the surface. I think about how this truth still speaks today. The forms of temptation have changed, but the voice remains the same. The screens, the noise, the endless pursuit of more, all whisper the same old lie, that satisfaction lies just beyond the next thing. But wisdom says, peace is not found in what you reach for, it is found in what you release. Understanding comes when we stop chasing and start listening, when we stop filling silence with noise and allow it to speak. Solomon writes that the upright will live in the land, and the blameless will remain in it. But the wicked will be cut off from the earth. This is not about geography. It is about belonging. The land is the place of peace, of home, of divine nearness. To live in the land is to live in harmony with truth, to feel at home in creation because one's heart is aligned with its creator. Those who live by deceit cannot feel at home even in their own lives. They build walls of pride and wonder why the world feels cold. The treasure of understanding is the key that opens those walls. It teaches that home is not a location, but a condition of the heart. The one who walks in wisdom carries peace wherever he goes. His surroundings may change, his circumstances may rise or fall, but within him there is stability. This inner steadiness is the mark of true understanding. It is the quiet strength of one who trusts that all things, even hardship, are held within divine purpose. As this part of the journey closes, the Father's tone is gentle again, like a blessing whispered before sleep. He has shown his Son where to find treasure, not in wealth, not in ambition, but in the still pursuit of truth. The Lord gives wisdom, he says again. From his mouth come knowledge and understanding. To seek this treasure is to walk the oldest road of all, the road of faith. It begins with listening, continues with trust, and ends in peace. The night deepens and the heart becomes still. The treasure has not yet been fully found, but its light is near. Let that light rest quietly within you, a promise of guidance, a reminder that every question finds its answer not in haste, but in patience. Understanding waits for those who walk slowly with God. The journey of Proverbs moves forward like the rising of dawn. The Father's voice remains steady, but now his words become softer, deeper, as if they are spoken not only to his Son, but to every soul that longs for peace. He has spoken about wisdom, understanding, and the way that protects from harm. Now he speaks about the heart, about trust, and about the quiet blessing that comes from surrendering control. These words have comforted generations, not because they are clever, but because they are true in every season of life. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your paths straight. These lines are like a lamp in the darkness, simple, yet filled with eternal power. The Father does not ask his Son to abandon thought. He asks him to let trust guide thought. Human reason is a good companion, but it must walk behind faith, not ahead of it. To lean on one's own understanding is to rest against something fragile. It can hold for a moment, but it will not last when the wind rises. Trust, however, is built on something unshakable, the nature of God himself. Trust is not a feeling. It is a choice that must often be made when feelings disappear. It begins where certainty ends. The one who trusts is not blind. He simply sees further than fear allows. He believes that behind confusion there is purpose. Behind silence there is presence. Behind loss there is love. Solomon knew that the human heart always wants to understand before obeying, but wisdom reverses the order. First we obey, then we understand. Faith walks into the unknown not because it is sure of what will happen, but because it is sure of who walks beside it. The Father continues, "Do not be wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord and turn away from evil. This will bring health to your body and nourishment to your bones." The connection between soul and body is ancient and real. A heart at peace strengthens the frame it lives in. A troubled mind wears it down. The wise do not separate faith from flesh. They know that trust heals not only the spirit but the body. When worry is released, the pulse slows. When guilt is confessed, the shoulders lighten. When bitterness fades, the breath deepens. The blessing of trust is not only eternal, it is immediate. Honor the Lord with your wealth, with the first fruits of all your crops. Then your barns will be filled with plenty, and your vats will overflow with new wine. The Father is not promising material prosperity. He is teaching the rhythm of giving. Trust expresses itself through generosity. The one who trusts God with his provision no longer fears lack, for he knows the source. Giving becomes an act of freedom, not loss. To honor the Lord with what we have is to declare that everything already belongs to him. Gratitude opens the door to joy. Do not despise the Lord's discipline, my child, and do not resent his rebuke, because the Lord disciplines those he loves as a father the son he delights in. These verses are a balm for the wounded. Discipline is not rejection. Correction is not cruelty. It is the loving hand of a father who refuses to let his child destroy himself. The trials of life are not random punishments, but invitations to maturity. Every test holds a hidden kindness. When life closes one path, it opens another. When plans crumble, wisdom builds something stronger in their place. To trust God is to believe that even in pain, love is working. The Father speaks next of peace. Blessed is the one who finds wisdom, the one who gains understanding, for she is more profitable than silver and yields better returns than gold. She is more precious than rubies. Nothing you desire can compare with her. Long life is in her right hand. In her left hand are riches and honor. Her ways are pleasant ways, and all her paths are peace. When Solomon wrote these words, he was not describing luxury. He was describing contentment. Peace is the greatest wealth. When the heart rests in God, every simple thing becomes enough. By wisdom the Lord laid the earth's foundations. By understanding, he set the heavens in place. This image draws the listener into awe. The same wisdom that built galaxies is the wisdom offered to guide a single human life. The same divine logic that balanced the stars desires to balance the heart. When we trust, we align ourselves with the structure of creation. Everything made by God responds to his order, and the soul that trusts becomes part of that harmony. The Father continues, "My child, do not let wisdom and understanding out of your sight. Preserve sound judgment and discretion. They will be life for you, an ornament to grace your neck. Then you will go on your way in safety, and your foot will not stumble. When you lie down, you will not be afraid. When you lie down, your sleep will be sweet." There is a gentle comfort in these lines, a promise that the one who walks with trust will rest without fear. Many seek sleep through distraction, but true rest comes only when the conscience is calm. A peaceful mind is the softest pillow. Have no fear of sudden disaster or of the ruin that overtakes the wicked, for the Lord will be your confidence and will keep your foot from being snared. These words remind us that fear does not disappear by control. It fades by confidence. The wise are not fearless because danger vanishes. They are fearless because love casts out fear. Trust and fear cannot share the same space. One always drives out the other. The Father's advice turns again to kindness. Do not withhold good from those to whom it is due, when it is in your power to act. Do not say to your neighbor, "Come back tomorrow, and I will give it to you," when you already have it with you. These are not rules. They are the natural fruit of trust. The one who trusts that God will provide is free to be generous without calculation. The heart that gives quickly lives lightly. Each act of mercy becomes a prayer. Do not envy the violent or choose any of their ways, for the Lord detests the perverse, but takes the upright into his confidence. The curse of the Lord is on the house of the wicked, but he blesses the home of the righteous. He mocks proud mockers, but shows favor to the humble and oppressed. The wise inherit honor, but fools get only shame. This closing passage gathers all that came before. The path of trust is humility. The path of pride is downfall. The proud believe they can secure their future. The humble know it is already secure in God. As the Father's voice quiets, a sense of stillness fills the heart. The lesson has been spoken not in command, but in comfort. Trust is not about answers. It is about alignment. It is resting in the truth that God is good, even when life is uncertain. When a soul reaches that place, fear dissolves, pride softens, and peace begins to grow like dawn spreading across the horizon. So tonight, as your thoughts begin to slow and your breathing steadies, remember this blessing. The one who trusts in the Lord will never be alone. The world may change, but love will not. Take this promise into your rest. Let it settle quietly within you. Trust, and your path will be made straight. Sleep, and your heart will be kept in peace. The voice of the Father grows tender, filled with calm authority, as he begins to speak again. He has taught his Son to trust, to give, to surrender control to the wisdom of God. Now he speaks of walking that trust out in daily life. His words shift from belief to movement, from thought to action. The Book of Proverbs opens this next chapter with an image as old as faith itself, the image of a path. It is a road worn by footsteps, a journey every person must take, one that begins with a choice and continues with every decision made afterward. Listen, my child, to a father's instruction. Pay attention and gain understanding. I give you sound learning, so do not forsake my teaching. For I too was a son to my father, still tender and cherished by my mother. Then he taught me and said to me, hold on to my words with all your heart. Keep my commands, and you will live. Get wisdom, get understanding. Do not forget my words or turn away from them. Do not forsake wisdom, and she will protect you. Love her, and she will watch over you. The beginning of wisdom is this: get wisdom, though it cost all you have. Get understanding. Cherish her, and she will exalt you. Embrace her, and she will honor you. The Father does not speak as a preacher above his listener, but as a man who has walked the same road. He remembers being young, restless, full of questions. He remembers the voices that pulled him in many directions. He knows that the search for purpose often begins with confusion, and that is why he teaches with such patience. The path of righteousness, he explains, is not about perfection but about direction. It is walking toward light even when the steps are slow. Every soul, he says, must choose between two roads, the way of wisdom and the way of wickedness. The road of the righteous is like the morning sun, shining ever brighter till the full light of day. The way of the wicked is like deep darkness. They do not know what makes them stumble. The contrast is simple, but its truth is profound. Light is not just a symbol of goodness. It is the clarity that comes when one's heart is aligned with truth. The righteous walk with open eyes, not because they see everything, but because they are guided by the light of faith. The wicked stumble not because the path is rough, but because pride blinds them. The Father urges his Son to guard his heart above all else, for everything he does flows from it. The heart is the source of life, the center from which words, actions, and dreams arise. To protect it is to protect the whole person. Wisdom begins in the heart long before it shows in behavior. If the heart is proud, the path becomes narrow. If the heart is bitter, even smooth ground feels uneven. But when the heart is humble, the path opens wide and light fills the way. He continues, keep your mouth free of perversity. Keep corrupt talk far from your lips. Let your eyes look straight ahead. Fix your gaze directly before you. Give careful thought to the paths of your feet, and be steadfast in all your ways. Do not turn to the right or the left. Keep your foot from evil. The Father is describing discipline, but not the kind that crushes joy. This is the discipline that frees. It is the self-control that protects peace. Every distraction, every temptation, every careless word pulls the traveler from the center of the path. Wisdom calls him back again and again, saying, "Stay steady, walk slow, do not rush ahead of grace." In the quiet of the night, these words take on a new weight. The path of righteousness is not a straight road through ease. It is a winding trail through trust. There are shadows and turns, and at times the traveler feels alone. Yet, in every darkness there is a glimmer. The righteous are not defined by how perfectly they walk, but by whom they follow. The Lord watches over their steps, correcting when they stray, lifting when they fall. The blessing of this walk is not in never stumbling, but in always being found. The Father then speaks about choices that seem small but carry deep consequence. "Do not enter the path of the wicked," he says, "and do not walk in the way of evildoers. Avoid it, do not travel on it. Turn from it and go your way. For they cannot rest until they do evil. They are robbed of sleep till they make someone stumble. They eat the bread of wickedness and drink the wine of violence." These verses are not merely moral warnings. They are psychological truths. Evil is restless. It feeds on unrest and spreads it. The righteous, on the other hand, carry peace wherever they go. When they forgive, peace follows them. When they show mercy, calm surrounds them. The path of righteousness creates a trail of quiet blessing behind every step. Sometimes I think of how easy it is to stray without noticing. It does not always begin with rebellion. Often it begins with fatigue, distraction, or fear. A little compromise here, a harsh word there, and suddenly the horizon looks different. The path of the righteous must be guarded daily, like a garden tended each morning. Prayer is the fence that keeps out weeds. Gratitude is the rain that keeps it alive. Walking with God is not a single choice, but a rhythm of returning. Every time we realign the heart, we return to the path. In the stillness of his teaching, the Father's tone softens again. He speaks of wisdom not as law, but as companionship. She walks beside the righteous like a friend, whispering reminders, comforting in confusion, steadying when fear returns. He who walks with the wise grows wise, but a companion of fools suffers harm. The righteous are careful with their company. They do not isolate from the world, but they choose voices that lead them toward truth, not away from it. The people we listen to shape the road beneath our feet. He reminds his son that the path is a lifelong journey. There will be seasons of brightness and seasons when clouds hide the Sunday. Yet even in darkness, the direction remains the same. The righteous may stumble 7 times, but they rise again. This rising is the secret of their strength. Their hope does not depend on their own steadiness, but on the hand that lifts them each time. As the lesson draws to its close, the Father's voice lowers, like a prayer offered over his son before sleep. "Keep my words close to your heart, for they are life to those who find them and health to one's whole body. Above all else, guard your heart." These are the words that every parent longs to speak, and every child needs to hear. Now, as the night settles, let the soul breathe for a moment. Take a slow breath and rest in his peace. The path of righteousness does not rush. It is walked one step, one breath, one act of trust at a time. Wherever you are tonight, the path still lies before you. Walk in light, and you will never lose your way. The Father's voice deepens as he begins to speak again, no longer with the tone of instruction, but with the gravity of warning. The air in his words is heavier now, not with fear, but with the weight of compassion. He knows how easily the human heart can wander, how quickly desire can disguise itself as love, how temptation never announces itself with danger, but with sweetness. The next lesson is not about knowledge or understanding. It is about vigilance, about the quiet war that begins inside every soul. My child, pay attention to my wisdom. Turn your ear to my words of insight, that you may maintain discretion, and your lips may preserve knowledge. For the lips of the adulterous woman drip honey, and her speech is smoother than oil. But in the end, she is bitter as gall, sharp as a double-edged sword. Her feet go down to death. Her steps lead straight to the grave. These words are not only about immorality, they are about illusion. The woman in this passage is a symbol for every temptation that begins with beauty but ends in regret. She represents any promise that glitters for a moment and then leaves the soul empty. The Father's voice is firm but tender. He does not scold his son. He pleads with him. Keep your way far from her. Do not go near the door of her house, lest you lose your honor to others and your dignity to one who is cruel. His warning reaches far beyond physical sin. It speaks to the danger of trading integrity for pleasure, of selling peace for a moment's thrill. Temptation always offers something immediate, but what it takes in return is far greater. The Father describes what happens when a person gives in. At the end of your life, you will groan. When your flesh and body are spent, you will say, "How I hated discipline. How my heart spurned correction. I would not obey my teachers or turn my ear to my instructors." And I was soon in serious trouble. His words paint the picture of regret, not to shame, but to protect. Regret is not punishment. It is a mirror showing what pride refused to see. There is something deeply human in this warning. We all know what it means to be drawn towards something that feels good but does not lead to peace. The temptation may not always be a person. It can be the desire for power, attention, comfort, or revenge. It can appear as an opportunity that seems harmless, a habit that feels small, a lie that seems useful. The shadow of temptation changes shape, but its core is the same, an invitation to step away from truth. Solomon speaks of how easily the heart can deceive itself. The one who thinks he can play with fire without being burned is already too close to the flame. The wise do not ask how far they can go without sinning. They ask how close they can stay to holiness. They do not measure boundaries by comfort, but by conscience. Wisdom builds fences not to limit freedom, but to protect peace. The Father then turns to a different image, one that restores hope. Drink water from your own cistern, running water from your own well. Let them be yours alone, never to be shared with strangers. This is not only about marriage, it is about gratitude. It is about learning to cherish what God has already given, rather than chasing what belongs to another. Every soul has been entrusted with blessings that are easily overlooked. Gratitude guards the heart better than rules. The one who is content is difficult to tempt. He continues, "May your fountain be blessed, and may you rejoice in the wife of your youth. A loving doe, a graceful deer, may her breast satisfy you always. May you ever be intoxicated with her love. Why, my son, be intoxicated with another's wife?" This passage, though written in the language of marriage, speaks to a larger truth. The righteous find joy not in novelty, but in faithfulness. The world teaches that happiness lies in constant change, but wisdom teaches that depth, not variety, brings fulfillment. Faithfulness is not the absence of desire, it is the mastery of it. It is choosing to love the same thing more deeply, rather than chasing something new. Temptation thrives in distraction. It whispers when the heart grows tired, when prayer grows cold, when gratitude fades. That is why the Father speaks not only of what to avoid, but of what to cultivate. He is teaching his Son to fill the heart with what is good, to leave no space for shadows to settle. Temptation feeds on emptiness, but it cannot breathe in a heart full of thanksgiving. There is also tenderness in his teaching. For your ways are in full view of the Lord, and he examines all your paths. The evil deeds of the wicked ensnare them. The cords of their sins hold them fast. For lack of discipline they will die, led astray by their own folly. These words are not threats, they are truth. Every choice leaves a trail, and God's eyes are not those of a judge waiting to condemn, but of a father who longs to protect. His watchfulness is not surveillance, but mercy. He sees the danger before we do. When temptation comes, wisdom does not shout. She whispers, "Turn away." The voice of folly says, "You deserve this. You will be fine. No one will know." But wisdom says, "Your peace is worth more than this moment." She reminds the heart that nothing hidden stays hidden for long, and nothing forbidden satisfies for long. The sweetness fades, but the wound remains. The wise remember that freedom is not doing what we want. It is being able to choose what is right. In this quiet teaching, there is also compassion for those who have already fallen. Solomon does not close the door on mercy. The same God who warns is the God who forgives. The shadow of temptation cannot erase the light of redemption. No matter how far one has strayed, the path back is never lost. It begins with a single turn of the heart, a whisper of repentance, a willingness to believe that grace is greater than guilt. When I hear this passage, I think of how temptation often speaks with the same tone as loneliness. It promises connection but delivers isolation. It promises excitement but ends in exhaustion. The only voice that truly brings peace is the one that calls us back to truth. That voice is not loud, it is gentle, and it never condemns. It says simply, "Come home." The Father's lesson ends not with fear, but with love. His words are like a protective hand resting on the shoulder of his son. He knows that temptation will come, but he also knows that wisdom will be near. The one who listens will not be perfect, but he will be preserved. The path of righteousness and the shadow of temptation often run side by side. But even in the darkest night, light still guides the faithful. As the teaching fades, the night feels quieter, as if the heart itself has exhaled. There is relief in remembering that we are not meant to walk alone. Every time we resist what would harm us, we honor the one who keeps us. Every time we fall and return, the light grows stronger. Temptation may whisper in many voices, but wisdom always answers with one. Walk with her, and the shadows will lose their shape. Rest in the peace of the Lord, for even in your weakness, his strength is near. The night deepens, and the Father's voice grows calm again, filled with compassion that only comes from understanding the weakness of the human heart. He has spoken of temptation and how easily it casts a shadow over those who stray from wisdom. Now he begins to speak about what happens after the fall, about the love that corrects and the mercy that restores. His tone changes from warning to comfort, from caution to healing. There is no anger here, only a father's steady desire to bring his child back to peace. My son, do not despise the discipline of the Lord, and do not resent his correction. For the Lord disciplines those he loves as a father the son he delights in. These words form one of the deepest truths in all of Scripture. Discipline is not rejection. It is the shape of divine love when it meets human imperfection. To despise correction is to misunderstand its purpose. God does not wound to harm. He allows pain to teach, to purify, to awaken. In the same way that a gardener prunes to help branches bear fruit, God removes what keeps the heart from flourishing. There are seasons when the discipline of the Lord feels harsh. The prayers seem unanswered. The plans fall apart. The doors close without reason. Yet within those silences and disruptions lies a hidden mercy. What God removes is often what would have destroyed us later. His correction is not meant to shame us, but to save us. The wise learn to bow under his hand, not because they enjoy the pain, but because they trust the purpose behind it. The foolish resist and call it injustice. The wise endure and call it grace. Solomon knew this truth from his own life. He was a king who tasted both success and failure, who saw how pride turns strength into weakness. That is why his words are gentle. He has been corrected himself. He says, "My child, keep your father's command, and do not forsake your mother's teaching. Bind them always on your heart. Fasten them around your neck. When you walk, they will guide you. When you sleep, they will watch over you. When you awake, they will speak to you." Discipline begins not with punishment, but with remembrance. To remember the words of truth is to stay close to the heart of God. The Father explains that correction is not about external punishment, but internal alignment. It is about bringing the soul back to harmony with divine order. When the conscience is uneasy, that discomfort is a form of mercy. It means the Spirit still speaks. When the heart feels convicted, it is not condemnation, it is invitation. The Lord disciplines those he loves because he refuses to let them remain lost. The absence of correction would be abandonment, but God never abandons his children. He continues, "For these commands are a lamp, this teaching is a light, and correction and instruction are the way to life." In this verse, light and correction are joined together. The path is illuminated not by comfort but by clarity. Every time God corrects, he shines a light on what was hidden. He exposes not to humiliate but to heal. The truth may sting, but it sets free. There is a story woven silently into these words, a story every soul knows. It is the story of wandering away from peace and finding it again through mercy. Many think of discipline as loss, but it is actually a return. When God removes what is false, he restores what is real. When he breaks pride, he makes space for wisdom. When he humbles, he also heals. Every correction from the Lord is followed by comfort. The Father then turns again to warning, not as condemnation, but as protection. He speaks of the dangers of adultery and idleness, the traps that catch the unguarded heart. He says, "Can a man scoop fire into his lap without his clothes being burned? Can a man walk on hot coals without his feet being scorched?" The question is simple but piercing. It reminds the listener that consequences are not punishments from God, but natural results of choices. Discipline is what saves us from those consequences before they grow unbearable. He also speaks of laziness and complacency, for both are forms of spiritual neglect. "Go to the ant, you sluggard, consider its ways and be wise. It has no commander, no overseer or ruler, yet it stores its provisions in summer and gathers its food at harvest." The Father is teaching his Son that discipline is not only about avoiding sin, but about building purpose. The disciplined heart does not waste the days of peace. It prepares for the days of trial. The wise use quiet seasons to strengthen faith, so that when storms come, they will not be shaken. There is gentleness in how he describes God's discipline. The Lord does not rush correction. He waits for the moment when the heart is ready to receive it. Just as a surgeon does not cut without care, God applies his hand with perfect timing. Some lessons take years to bloom. Some tears take time to turn into wisdom. The wise do not ask how long the trial will last. They ask what the trial is teaching. I have learned that the discipline of God always leads toward freedom, never bondage. It removes what binds. It breaks the illusion of control. It teaches that surrender is not weakness, but wisdom. When life closes in and plans unravel, it may be that God is turning us away from what we cannot yet see. In hindsight, every disappointment can become an answered prayer. The Father also reminds his Son that discipline is never one-sided. As we submit to correction, we are also invited to discipline ourselves, to choose truth before comfort, forgiveness before pride, patience before haste. This self-discipline mirrors divine discipline and keeps the heart soft. The one who practices it walks in step with the Spirit. Such a life is not free from struggle, but it is free from confusion. The Proverbs say, "For whom the Lord loves, he corrects, even as a father, the son in whom he delights." Notice the word delights. Correction comes from delight, not disdain. God's discipline is proof of belonging. The child who is loved is guided. The one ignored is lost. This perspective transforms the way we experience hardship. Instead of asking why, the wise begin to ask, what for? Instead of feeling abandoned, they feel invited. Discipline, at its core, is love in motion. It is love refusing to leave us half-formed, love determined to make us whole. When we begin to see it this way, pain loses its bitterness and becomes a teacher. The soul learns that surrender brings peace faster than resistance. The sooner we yield, the sooner we heal. As the Father's voice softens, he speaks a blessing. My child, keep sound wisdom and discretion. Do not let them out of your sight. They will be life to your soul and grace to your neck. Then you will walk on your way securely, and your foot will not stumble. When you lie down, you will not be afraid. When you lie down, your sleep will be sweet. The peace that follows discipline is deeper than comfort. It is confidence. It is the rest that comes from knowing the heart has been set right. So tonight, if you find yourself under correction, do not despair. You are being shaped by love. You are being refined by wisdom that sees farther than your pain. Take heart, for every cut of the gardener is followed by fruit, every dark night by dawn. The Lord's discipline may break pride, but it never breaks promise. Let this truth settle gently within you. Take a slow breath, and remember that correction is not rejection. You are seen, guided, and cherished. The one who disciplines you is the same, one who delights in you. Rest now in that peace, and let your heart grow quiet under his care. The Father's teaching deepens, like a river flowing between two opposing shores. On one side is wisdom, clear, steady, full of light. On the other is folly, noisy, restless, alluring, yet empty. In this part of the Book of Proverbs, Solomon paints both voices vividly, not to condemn, but to awaken discernment. For the human heart, he knows, is easily swayed by whichever voice speaks loudest. And only through stillness can one hear which voice brings peace. Wisdom has built her house. She has set up her 7 pillars. She has prepared her meat and mixed her wine. She has also set her table. She calls from the highest point of the city, "Let all who are simple come to my house." To those who have no sense, she says, "Come, eat my food and drink the wine I have mixed. Leave your simple ways, and you will live, walk in the way of insight." Solomon describes wisdom not as an idea, but as a living presence, a hostess of grace inviting every traveler to a feast. Her table is rich not with gold or luxury, but with truth, understanding, and rest. Then, across the city, another voice calls. Folly is loud. She is undisciplined and without knowledge. She sits at the door of her house, on a seat at the highest point of the city, calling out to those who pass by. "Let all who are simple come to my house." To those who have no sense, she says, "Stolen water is sweet. Food eaten in secret is delicious." But little do they know that the dead are there, that her guests are deep in the realm of the grave. These two voices echo through every generation, each promising fulfillment, but leading to opposite ends. The contrast is subtle but striking. Wisdom invites openly, folly tempts secretly. Wisdom offers nourishment, folly offers thrill. Wisdom gives peace that grows, folly gives pleasure that fades. The heart that listens to wisdom finds life. The one that answers folly's call discovers emptiness dressed as joy. The Father's lesson becomes a mirror for every listener. He does not only speak of moral choices, but of inner posture. Each day we choose which voice to answer. Wisdom whispers in patience, in humility, in the quiet strength of truth. Folly shouts through impulse, vanity, and noise. The wise learn to pause before they respond. They understand that not every open door leads to freedom. Solomon's imagery of two houses has meaning beyond its surface. The house of wisdom is built with 7 pillars, a symbol of completeness. It stands firm, balanced, strong. Each pillar represents a virtue that sustains it: humility, discipline, integrity, compassion, patience, reverence, and truth. When a life is built on these, it cannot easily collapse. The house of folly, by contrast, has no pillars. It looks impressive from a distance, but cannot bear weight. Its foundation is built on sand, on pride, on deceit, on self-indulgence. The winds of time expose both. The wise man does not avoid the city's noise. He learns to recognize the voices within it. Wisdom's call may not always sound appealing, but it never misleads. Folly's song may sound beautiful, but it always costs more than it promises. The Father says, "Whoever corrects a mocker invites insults. Whoever rebukes the wicked incurs abuse. Do not rebuke mockers, or they will hate you. Rebuke the wise, and they will love you. Instruct the wise, and they will be wiser still. Teach the righteous, and they will add to their learning." These words remind us that how we respond to correction reveals whose voice we are following. Wisdom listens and grows. Folly resists and hardens. There is something deeply personal in Solomon's contrast. Wisdom's house and folly's house are not merely two places in a city. They are two conditions of the soul. Both exist within each of us. Every heart holds a table set by both women, one offering nourishment for eternity, the other serving pleasure for a moment. The battle between them is not fought on streets, but in choices, habits, and thoughts. The one we feed becomes the one we follow. When the Father speaks of wisdom's invitation, he speaks of the way God calls his people. His voice does not manipulate or deceive. It invites. It honors freedom, even when freedom leads away. Folly, however, seduces. She flatters pride and feeds impulse. Her call is not a genuine offer of life, but a counterfeit version of it. The danger of folly's voice is not its volume, but its familiarity. It often sounds like what we want to hear. The wise learn to test voices by their fruit. Wisdom brings stillness. Folly brings restlessness. Wisdom deepens relationships. Folly fractures them. Wisdom makes one grateful. Folly leaves one hungry. Solomon's entire teaching is built on this discernment, that peace is the proof of truth. What does not bring peace cannot come from wisdom. The Father continues, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and knowledge of the Holy One is understanding." This is the anchor that holds the entire teaching together. Wisdom is not merely moral intelligence or good behavior. It begins with reverence, with standing in awe before the one who made all things. The fear of the Lord is not terror, but awareness. Awareness of God's presence in every choice. Awareness that every thought is seen, every motive known. It is this awareness that humbles pride and purifies desire. By wisdom your days will be many, and years will be added to your life. If you are wise, your wisdom will reward you. If you are a mocker, you alone will suffer. Here Solomon reveals a law of the Spirit as unchanging as gravity. Wisdom builds, folly breaks. The consequences of each choice are not random, they are natural. The one who follows wisdom grows stronger even in adversity. The one who follows folly grows weary even in comfort. I think often about how these two voices still echo through our world. Wisdom speaks through quiet moments, through honesty, through compassion, through stillness. Folly speaks through noise, through envy, through fear, through the constant hunger for more. The wise are not those who never hear folly's voice. They are those who recognize it and choose not to answer. The Father's voice turns gentle once more. He tells his son that wisdom does not compete for attention. She simply waits for the heart to grow still enough to hear her again. Even when we have listened to folly and suffered for it, wisdom does not withdraw. She calls again, patient and unwavering. The heart that turns back toward her finds her waiting at the door, light still burning in her house. There is a quiet mercy in that thought. No one is too far gone to hear wisdom again. The path of return may be narrow, but it is never closed. God's voice still calls through every failure, every regret, every silence. The wise learn that forgiveness itself is a form of wisdom, the understanding that grace is stronger than guilt. As the night falls deeper and the lessons of the day draw to a close, the Father ends his teaching with a simple image. The city grows quiet, the candles in both houses flicker, and only one remains steady. The light that endures is the light of wisdom, for it is the light of God himself. Those who walk toward it walk toward peace. Those who turn away walk into their own shadows. Let your heart tonight listen for that voice. Not the one that flatters, not the one that demands, but the one that brings rest. The voice of wisdom will never rush you. It will only guide you. And when you follow it, you will find that the path you walk is not just safe, it is sacred. The voice of the Father becomes quieter now, but it carries the steady rhythm of conviction. The great lessons of wisdom have already been spoken, yet Solomon begins to unfold them again, not as new ideas, but as living truths meant to be remembered. Each proverb is like a small flame that can light a great darkness. They are brief, simple, but within them lies the shape of a life well lived. The Book of Proverbs turns now from long instruction to short sentences that cut directly to the heart. They are not random words. They are pieces of divine pattern. The Proverbs of Solomon, son of David, king of Israel, for gaining wisdom and instruction, for understanding words of insight, for receiving instruction in prudent behavior, doing what is right and just and fair, for giving prudence to those who are simple, knowledge and discretion to the young. Let the wise listen and add to their learning, and let the discerning get guidance. Solomon begins not with pride, but with purpose. Wisdom is not only for the ignorant, but also for the wise. The journey never ends. The one who thinks he has enough understanding already has begun to lose it. A gentle voice seems to echo through the text, saying that these proverbs are not rules but reflections, glimpses of divine truth through human experience. Each one holds a promise and a warning, a path to follow, or a danger to avoid. Solomon writes, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction." Every lesson returns to this center. Reverence is the root of wisdom, humility, the soil in which it grows. Hear, my child, your father's instruction, and do not forsake your mother's teaching. They are a garland to grace your head and a chain to adorn your neck. The father reminds his son that wisdom begins at home. The lessons learned in tenderness are often the ones that last longest. Honor is not built in grand moments, but in quiet obedience. Every generation receives light from the one before it, and the wise keep that light burning by passing it on. The next proverb follows like a shadow. My son, if sinful men entice you, do not give in to them. If they say, come along with us, let us lie in wait for innocent blood. Let us ambush some harmless soul. Do not go along with them. Do not set foot on their paths, for their feet rush into evil. Solomon knew that temptation rarely comes alone. It comes with companions. The call to evil is often the call to belong. Wisdom teaches the strength to stand apart. The one who follows the crowd will share their fall, but the one who walks alone with truth will never truly be alone. For their feet rush into evil, they make haste to shed blood. How useless to spread a net where every bird can see it. Yet these men lie in wait for their own blood. They ambush only themselves. This warning carries an insight that reaches far beyond crime. Every deceitful plan is a trap for its maker. Every selfish act steals from the self. The world teaches that victory means taking, but Solomon shows that victory means remaining uncorrupted. The Father speaks again of wisdom calling in the streets, raising her voice in the public square. How long will you who are simple love your simple ways? How long will mockers delight in mockery and fools hate knowledge? He writes not for scholars but for ordinary hearts, for those who forget that wisdom is found in ordinary faithfulness. The same God who guides the stars also guides the steps of a laborer, a mother, a farmer, a teacher. One of Solomon's most enduring truths is this: the Lord detests dishonest scales, but accurate weights find favor with him. A heart that deals fairly, that speaks truth even when it costs something, lives in quiet dignity. The world often rewards deception for a season, but the peace of an honest heart lasts forever. Honesty is not only about words, it is about motive. The righteous choose what is right, not because it is easy, but because it is true. Another verse shines like a small jewel. A gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. Here, wisdom enters the smallest details of life. Many conflicts could end before they begin if gentleness ruled the tongue. A gentle word does not mean weakness. It means mastery. It means the spirit is stronger than the impulse to win. To speak softly is to love deeply. There is also this: pride goes before destruction, a haughty spirit before a fall. Better to be lowly in spirit along with the oppressed than to share plunder with the proud. Solomon does not speak as a moralist, but as an observer of reality. Pride always blinds. It builds walls so high that light cannot enter. Humility, on the other hand, opens windows. The humble are teachable. The proud cannot even hear their own folly. Another truth rises gently. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your paths straight. This sentence is not advice. It is life itself. It has carried countless souls through storms. To lean on one's own understanding is to rest on shifting sand. To trust in the Lord is to walk on rock that will never break. Do not withhold good from those to whom it is due when it is in your power to act. Do not say to your neighbor, "Come back tomorrow, and I will give it to you," when you already have it with you. The Father reminds his Son that love is measured by timing as much as by intention. Delayed kindness is often missed opportunity. Wisdom moves quickly to do good. The Proverbs flow like pearls on a thread, each different but shining with the same light. Hatred stirs up conflict, but love covers all wrongs. A gossip betrays a confidence, but a trustworthy person keeps a secret. When words are many, sin is not absent, but he who holds his tongue is wise. The righteous care for the needs of their animals, but the kindest acts of the wicked are cruel. Each line is a mirror for the conscience, showing where the heart stands. The Father's tone softens. and the words begin to weave together into something more personal. My child, let your heart keep my commands, for they will prolong your life many years and bring you peace and prosperity. Let love and faithfulness never leave you. Bind them around your neck. Write them on the tablet of your heart. The wisdom of Proverbs is not about outward success, but inner stillness. The one who lives by truth sleeps easily. At this moment, the voice turns toward the listener. If these words have touched you, let your heart share in their peace. When something in this teaching stirs your spirit or reminds you of your own story, take a moment to reflect on it. Write it down, or if you feel moved, share a thought in the comments about the verse that spoke most clearly to you. Your reflection may bring light to another who listens tonight. Every voice that seeks wisdom adds warmth to the circle of faith. The Father concludes his teaching with one final reminder. The path of the righteous is like the morning sun, shining ever brighter till the full light of day. But the way of the wicked is like deep darkness. They do not know what makes them stumble. Wisdom and foolishness remain two voices calling, two paths waiting. Each choice shapes the direction of a life. As the night quiets and the words linger, remember this: wisdom is not far away. It does not hide in mystery or demand perfection. It waits in stillness, in honesty, in love that does not fade. Let these proverbs dwell in your heart and guide your steps. The peace they offer is not for a moment, but for a lifetime. The night settles softly, and the voice of the Father returns calm and steady like the light of an oil lamp that refuses to flicker. The wisdom of Solomon continues, not in argument or persuasion, but in simple truths that breathe clarity into restless hearts. These proverbs are not new lessons, but living echoes of divine order, reminders that righteousness is not a performance, but a posture of the soul. The wise store up knowledge, but the mouth of a fool invites ruin. The hand of the diligent will rule, but laziness ends in forced labor. Each line feels small, yet behind it lies a vision of the world as it truly is. Wisdom brings fruit through patience. Folly seeks harvest before planting. The diligent do not chase greatness. They serve faithfully where they are, and greatness comes quietly. The Father speaks about honesty again. The Lord detests dishonest scales, but accurate weights are his delight. When pride comes, then comes disgrace, but with humility comes wisdom. Pride clouds judgment like dust in the wind. The humble see clearly because they no longer need to prove themselves. The one who fears the Lord does not live in dread but in balance, walking softly, speaking gently, and resting peacefully. Those who trust in their riches will fall, but the righteous will thrive like a green leaf. In these few words lies the secret of joy. Wealth may build comfort, but only integrity builds peace. The world measures abundance by accumulation. God measures it by contentment. The one who can give freely is the one who has already found true wealth. A generous person will prosper. Whoever refreshes others will be refreshed. Solomon reveals a cycle hidden in creation, that giving never empties, it renews. To refresh another is to draw from a river that never dries. In kindness, there is strength. In mercy, there is multiplication. Whoever loves discipline loves knowledge, but whoever hates correction is stupid. The Father does not speak harshly but honestly. To love discipline is to love growth. Correction is not rejection. It is the path to maturity. Every wise heart has learned through mistakes. Every foolish heart has remained unchanged because pride refused to listen. Wisdom grows not by avoiding failure, but by learning from it. Anxiety weighs down the heart, but a kind word cheers it up. The Father pauses here, and his tone softens. He knows that life is not only made of choices and consequences, but of burdens unseen. Every heart carries its silent weight, and sometimes wisdom is as simple as speaking kindly. Words cannot erase pain, but they can make it bearable. The wise use their words as balm, not as weapons. A righteous man cares for the needs of his animal, but the kindest acts of the wicked are cruel. This is not merely about compassion for creatures. It is about sensitivity to all life. The heart, aligned with wisdom, feels the pulse of creation. It honors even the smallest living thing because it recognizes the same divine breath within all. The way of fools seems right to them, but the wise listen to advice. Fools show their annoyance at once, but the prudent overlook an insult. Here Solomon draws a picture of inner peace. The wise are not unfeeling. They are centered. Their calm is not ignorance but choice. They know that dignity is not defended by pride but preserved by patience. He continues, "A soft answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. The tongue of the wise adorns knowledge, but the mouth of the fool gushes folly." Words shape worlds. They build or destroy, heal or wound. Wisdom guards the tongue, not out of fear, but out of reverence for what words can do. Every syllable has power, and the wise use it to restore. The Father's voice grows reflective as he recites, "A cheerful heart is good medicine, but a crushed spirit dries up the bones. Better a little with the fear of the Lord than great wealth with turmoil. Better a dinner of herbs where love is than a fattened ox with hatred." These lines feel like sighs of experience. Solomon has seen palaces full of gold and hearts empty of peace. Joy does not live in abundance, but in gratitude. Commit to the Lord whatever you do, and he will establish your plans. The Lord works out everything to its proper end. The wise man does not measure success by outcome, but by obedience. He trusts that the path is blessed, even when the destination is unclear. He knows that when the work belongs to God, the result will too. How much better to get wisdom than gold, to get insight rather than silver. Pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. This truth has been proven in every age. Pride always climbs fast and falls hard. Wisdom, however, rises slowly and stays. Humility is the soil that holds it. Gray hair is a crown of splendor. It is attained in the way of righteousness. The Father smiles as he says this, his tone filled with gentle honor. The passing of years is not loss, but gain. Time is not an enemy. It is the canvas on which faith paints endurance. To live long in wisdom is to live close to peace. He pauses for a moment, and his voice lowers into a slow rhythm of breathing. Take a quiet breath now. Let it move through your chest and soften your thoughts. Feel how stillness begins to open the heart. Wisdom is not a rush of thought, but a calm awareness of God's nearness. The spirit breathes peace when the body breathes slowly. The one who guards his mouth preserves his life, but he who speaks rashly will come to ruin. The Father repeats this truth as though planting it deeper. Words reveal the state of the heart. When the heart rests in God, speech becomes gentle. When the heart is restless, words become sharp. The wise keep their peace by keeping their silence. Many are the plans in a person's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that prevails. This proverb closes the lesson like a gentle seal. The wisdom of man can design many paths, but only God's hand knows where each one leads. The heart that trusts this sleeps easily, knowing that nothing good is lost and nothing meant for harm can stand against his will. As the teaching comes to rest, the Father's tone is no longer instructive, but prayerful. He does not ask his son to be perfect, only to be willing to listen, to change, to seek peace above pride. The one who walks humbly before God will never walk in darkness. The candle burns low, but its light remains steady. The house is quiet, the air filled with the scent of stillness. Every breath carries a whisper of grace. The Lord's wisdom is not distant. It dwells close, waiting to fill the heart that seeks it. Rest now in that nearness. Let your breath slow, your thoughts settle, and your soul remember that peace begins when we listen. The air is still, and the Father's voice returns with the gentle rhythm of evening rain. The great lessons of wisdom continue, each line shaped like a seed meant to be sown in quiet hearts. Solomon does not rush. He allows every truth to unfold slowly, knowing that wisdom never grows in haste. These proverbs now speak of character, of friendship, of kindness, of the choices that reveal who we truly are when no one else is watching. The name of the Lord is a fortified tower. The righteous run to it and are safe. The rich think their wealth is a strong city. They imagine it a wall too high to scale. Before a downfall, the heart is haughty, but humility comes before honor. Solomon begins this section with the contrast between false security and true refuge. The wise seek protection not in possessions, but in presence. God himself is the tower, and the one who runs to him is never unprotected. The tongue has the power of life and death, and those who love it will eat its fruit. Words are the seeds that shape the soil of the world. The Father reminds his Son that speech is sacred, for it carries the breath of creation. Every gentle word becomes light in another heart, and every cruel word becomes shadow. To speak wisely is to share in the work of God, for he too creates through his word. A friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for adversity. Solomon's voice softens when he speaks of friendship. He knows that loyalty is a rare jewel, and that true friends are those who remain when comfort disappears. A friend's presence in hardship is worth more than a crowd in celebration. The wise choose relationships not for gain, but for goodness. Friendship is not measured by ease, but by endurance. He who covers an offense promotes love, but whoever repeats the matter separates close friends. The Father looks at his Son and warns him gently, "Guard your tongue, even among those you love most." The gossip's pleasure lasts a moment. Its wound lasts a lifetime. To forgive silently is nobler than to expose loudly. Wisdom often hides where pride wants to speak. Solomon then turns to the heart of character. The righteous man walks in integrity. Blessed are his children after him. The words are simple, yet full of weight. Integrity is not only a personal virtue, it is a legacy. What one heart builds in truth becomes shelter for generations. The righteous do not speak of honor. They live it quietly until others find refuge in their shadow. Better a little with righteousness than much gain with injustice. The Lord detests differing weights, and dishonest scales do not please him. The message echoes again and again, because deception wears many masks. It hides in flattery, in excuses, in small lies told for convenience. But wisdom is consistent. It requires the same honesty in private as in public. The wise sleep well because they have nothing to hide. The Father speaks next of patience. A person's wisdom yields patience. It is to one's glory to overlook an offense. The prudent hold their temper. The fool gives full vent to his anger. These verses carry deep peace. To overlook offense is not weakness. It is strength under control. The fool demands to be heard. The wise choose to understand. Silence can often heal what argument would destroy. A kind word turns away wrath, and gracious speech adds sweetness to the soul. The wise use their words to build bridges, not walls. The one who has tasted mercy cannot easily judge others. He remembers his own failures and therefore shows gentleness. In mercy there is power, and in forgiveness there is freedom. Solomon also speaks of diligence again. Go to the ant, you sluggard. Consider its ways and be wise. The ant stores its food in summer and gathers its provisions at harvest. Laziness leads to poverty, but diligence leads to abundance. Yet the lesson is not about wealth, but responsibility. Every season has purpose. The wise act in time, not in haste. They understand that effort is not punishment, but participation in creation. The father pauses for a moment before continuing, his tone turning softer, almost reflective. The spirit of a man sustains him in sickness, but a crushed spirit who can bear. Human strength is not measured by muscle, but by meaning. When the soul has purpose, the body endures. When the soul loses hope, even comfort feels heavy. This is why the wise guard their inner fire. They feed it with prayer, gratitude, and trust. Before his downfall, a man's heart is proud, but humility comes before honor. To answer before listening, that is folly and shame. These short lines cut deep because they are true. Pride interrupts. Humility listens. The proud believe they already understand. The humble seek to learn. Wisdom begins where the mouth closes and the ear opens. The father continues. From the fruit of their mouth, a person's stomach is filled. With the harvest of their lips, they are satisfied. The tongue has the power of life and death, and those who love it will eat its fruit. Words do not disappear. They return to their source. The wise therefore speak as if each word were a seed that would grow in their own garden. Kindness returns as comfort. Cruelty returns as regret. He moves toward the topic of justice. To show partiality in judging is not good. Whoever says to the guilty, "You are innocent," will be cursed by peoples and denounced by nations. But it will go well with those who convict the guilty, and rich blessing will come on them. Honesty in judgment is not only for courts, but for every moment we choose sides in small conflicts. The wise do not bend truth to favor comfort. They stand in the light, even when the light exposes. Many seek an audience with a ruler, but it is from the Lord that one gets justice. The human world is full of systems, but divine justice is the final balance. The wise learn to wait for it. They do not grow bitter when wronged, because they trust that no injustice escapes the sight of God. Patience in injustice is one of the highest forms of faith. Then Solomon speaks of family and community. Start children off on the way they should go, and even when they are old, they will not turn from it. Discipline your son, for in that there is hope. Do not be a willing party to his death. These words remind us that love without guidance is sentiment, not care. Discipline is the shape of love that prepares the soul for freedom. To raise a child is to teach trust, to build the habit of wisdom early. The father ends his lesson with one of the gentlest truths in Scripture. Many are the plans in a person's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that prevails. The one who fears the Lord leads a secure life, and whoever trusts in him will be kept safe. This is the steady anchor that holds through every storm. Human plans rise and fall, but divine purpose stands quietly behind them, patient and unchanging. As the candle burns low, the Father's words become a prayer more than a teaching. He tells his son to rest, for wisdom is not a burden, but a companion. The Lord gives sleep to those he loves. The wise do not stay awake worrying about what they cannot control. They surrender their tomorrow into hands that never fail. The night grows calm. A slow, gentle breath fills the silence. It is the sound of peace returning. The breath becomes a prayer itself, quiet, wordless, and full of trust. Breathe, and remember that every lesson of wisdom leads back to this, the stillness of being known by God. The night remains calm, and the words of the Father continue with the same quiet certainty. The lessons of wisdom now turn inward, toward the hidden parts of the heart, where motives are born and decisions take root. Solomon no longer teaches about what to do, but about what to be. Each proverb is a reflection of character, shaped by the fear of the Lord and softened by humility. Better a patient person than a warrior, one with self-control than one who takes a city. The Father begins with strength, but not the kind the world admires. He speaks of the inner victory that requires no applause. The patient man conquers himself. The impulsive man conquers nothing. True power is measured not by what one can seize, but by what one can surrender. When a man's ways please the Lord, he makes even his enemies to be at peace with him. This verse carries quiet assurance. It does not promise a life without conflict, but a heart without hatred. When God becomes the center, even opposition loses its sting. The wise do not seek to win every battle. They seek to walk rightly, and peace follows them like a shadow that never leaves. A cheerful heart is good medicine, but a crushed spirit dries up the bones. The Father pauses and lets the words settle. He knows how easily joy can be lost in the noise of worry. A cheerful heart is not blind to pain. It is simply anchored beyond it. Joy rooted in God cannot be stolen by circumstance. It heals what bitterness cannot reach. Better a dry crust with peace and quiet than a house full of feasting with strife. Solomon has seen both kinds of houses. He knows that comfort without harmony is emptiness in disguise. Peace is a treasure no wealth can purchase. The wise would rather live with little and love than with abundance and unrest. Whoever mocks the poor shows contempt for their maker. Whoever gloats over disaster will not go unpunished. These words pierce softly, but deeply. The measure of wisdom is compassion. The one who honors God cannot despise those he made. Mercy is not weakness, it is divine resemblance. To mock the suffering is to forget that all breath comes from the same source. A person's steps are directed by the Lord. How then can anyone understand their own way? The Father repeats this often, as though to comfort both himself and his Son. The wise walk not by full understanding, but by trust. They accept that not knowing is part of faith. The journey of life is not about predicting every turn, but about following the light one step at a time. Better to live on a corner of the roof than share a house with a quarrelsome wife. Solomon's humor hides wisdom. Peace at home is more precious than grandeur in chaos. Relationships cannot thrive in pride. The wise speak softly and forgive quickly. The measure of wisdom is not intelligence, but gentleness within closeness. The righteous care about justice for the poor, but the wicked have no such concern. Justice is not an opinion. It is compassion applied. The wise see injustice not as a problem of politics, but as a failure of love. To stand for the voiceless is to stand beside God himself. Whoever pursues righteousness and love finds life, prosperity, and honor. Solomon describes pursuit, not perfection. Righteousness is not a possession, but a direction. Love is not a feeling, but a practice. When we seek them, even imperfectly, they bring life that wealth cannot give. The Father reflects for a moment before continuing. Like cold water to a weary soul is good news from a distant land. There is joy and hope renewed. The human spirit was made for encouragement. Even the smallest word of kindness can refresh a heart heavy with silence. The wise do not withhold it. They speak hope freely. for hope multiplies when shared. Do not boast about tomorrow, for you do not know what a day may bring. Let someone else praise you, and not your own mouth. The Father's tone grows firmer. Pride often hides behind planning. To boast about tomorrow is to assume ownership of time. The wise live in the present with gratitude, knowing that every day is a gift, not a guarantee. As iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. The wise seek companions who challenge, not flatter. True friendship is not comfort alone, but growth through honesty. The righteous are not afraid of correction. They welcome it as a whetstone to their soul. A good friend reflects truth, even when it wounds, for wounds from a friend are faithful. He who conceals his sins does not prosper, but whoever confesses and renounces them finds mercy. These are words of freedom. The burden of secrecy crushes the heart. Confession releases it. The wise understand that shame grows in silence. God's mercy is not earned but discovered when we dare to be honest. A gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. Once more, the Father reminds his Son that speech is the mirror of the heart. When peace rules within, peace will come out. The tongue of the wise brings healing. The lips of the fool bring ruin. Every word is a seed that returns to its sower. The fear of man will prove to be a snare, but whoever trusts in the Lord is kept safe. The wise are not ruled by opinions or approval. They know that fear of people binds the soul, while fear of God frees it. Trust replaces anxiety. The approval of heaven outweighs the applause of earth. Pride brings a person low, but the lowly in spirit gain honor. The Father smiles gently as he says this. He knows that humility is not weakness, but clarity. It allows the heart to see what pride hides. The humble do not think less of themselves. They simply think of themselves less. A fool gives full vent to his anger, but a wise person quietly holds it back. The calm of the wise is not apathy, it is mastery. They know that wrath burns faster than reason, and silence saves more than argument ever could. Where there is no vision, the people perish, but blessed is the one who keeps the law. Solomon reminds that wisdom must have purpose. Vision without obedience leads to chaos. Obedience without vision leads to stagnation. The wise walk where clarity and faith meet, seeing enough to move forward but not enough to stop trusting. The Father pauses for a final moment, and his voice lowers into stillness. Take a slow breath, he says softly. Let the air move gently in and out. A rhythm of grace. You are part of something ancient and kind, guided by hands that never let go. Wisdom is not far. It lives quietly where peace begins. As the candle's flame bends low and the last line is spoken, the Father's house feels wrapped in quiet presence. His words do not end. They settle like dew upon the heart. In this stillness, the lesson becomes prayer. Lord, teach me to walk humbly, to speak gently, and to rest in your wisdom all my days. The Father's voice returns with the gentle weight of truth that has ripened through experience. His tone is not that of a teacher standing above, but of a soul that has lived through seasons of failure, mercy, and restoration. The wisdom of Solomon now flows like water over smooth stone, calm, deliberate, carrying the fragrance of peace and reverence. The Lord detests lying lips, but he delights in people who are trustworthy. The Father begins simply, yet each word holds a moral foundation for life. Truth is not merely about accuracy. It is about integrity. The lips that speak truth reflect a heart aligned with God. To be trustworthy is to live without the need for disguise. The one who hides nothing sleeps in peace, for light has nothing to fear from exposure. A fool's mouth is his ruin, and his lips are a snare to his soul. The words of a gossip are like choice morsels. They go down to the inmost parts. The Father warns of the sweetness of sin that poisons slowly. Gossip feels harmless, even entertaining, yet it steals dignity and divides trust. The wise learn to close their ears to whispers and open their mouths only for what builds others up. To speak less is to live wisely. The one who gets wisdom loves life. The one who cherishes understanding will soon prosper. These words hold quiet joy. Wisdom is not a burden, but a gift that deepens living. The one who seeks it learns to enjoy simplicity, the light on morning fields, the laughter of children, the peace of honest work. Prosperity in Scripture is not measured in possessions, but in presence, in knowing that life itself is grace. Those who conceal their hatred with lying lips and spread slander are fools. The Father reminds his Son that hypocrisy is a subtle destroyer. Hatred can hide behind politeness, and deceit can wear the mask of charm. But wisdom teaches transparency. To be genuine is to reflect the nature of God, who is truth itself. The wise heart remains clean, not because it is perfect, but because it refuses to pretend. Solomon then shifts to the discipline of planning. Commit to the Lord whatever you do, and he will establish your plans. The human heart may design the journey, but the Lord determines the steps. The wise do not stop planning. They plan with surrender. Their peace does not come from control, but from trust that even the unexpected belongs within divine order. Pride brings destruction, but humility brings honor. The Father has spoken these words many times, yet they never lose their weight. Pride builds its own downfall. It blinds before it breaks. The humble walk unseen but rise unshaken. Their honor is not loud, yet it lasts beyond applause. Humility is the soil in which all other virtues grow. A person's wisdom yields patience. It is to one's glory to overlook an offense. The Father pauses and lets this sentence breathe. The greatest strength is not in retaliation, but in restraint. To overlook an offense is not to ignore it, but to choose peace over pride. Each time we let go of anger, we make room for grace to enter. The wise learn that sometimes silence is the loudest act of wisdom. The righteous hate what is false, but the wicked bring shame and disgrace. Humility, honesty, and purity of motive are woven together. A life built on deceit may stand tall for a moment, but it cannot endure. The wise do not chase reputation. They guard character, for character stands when reputation falls. The Father continues, "The way of the lazy man is blocked with thorns, but the path of the upright is a highway." The image is vivid. Laziness grows weeds. Diligence clears the road. The wise understand that effort is an act of worship. Work done with integrity becomes prayer in motion. Even the simplest task, when done in love, becomes holy. A gentle tongue is a tree of life, but a perverse tongue crushes the spirit. The Father's tone softens, as though he speaks not only to his Son, but to himself. Words can create or destroy, heal or wound. A single kind phrase can restore courage, while a careless one can scar the heart for years. The wise speak slowly, not because they are unsure, but because they understand the sacredness of every syllable. Better a poor man who walks in integrity than a rich man who is crooked in his ways. Solomon returns to a truth he never tires of repeating. Wealth without integrity is poverty of the soul. The righteous man values peace more than possessions, love more than luxury. The joy that comes from honesty is the kind that cannot be stolen. To answer before listening, that is folly and shame. The one who listens fully loves deeply. Listening is an act of humility, a way of saying, "Your words matter." The wise listen not to prepare replies, but to understand hearts. In a world of noise, listening is an act of rare wisdom. The father smiles as he recites, "A friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for adversity." There is beauty in loyalty. Friendship grounded in faith becomes a shelter during storms. The wise know that companionship is not about convenience, but about commitment. A true friend reflects the heart of God, staying near when others walk away. The heart of man plans his way, but the Lord establishes his steps. Solomon repeats this truth again, gently yet firmly, like a refrain meant to calm the anxious. Human wisdom can draw the map, but only divine wisdom can show the road. The wise learn to walk slowly, not to waste time, but to stay aligned with purpose. The Father pauses and invites his listener to breathe. Take a quiet breath now. Feel the air move through you, steady and light. The Lord's wisdom is not heavy. It is gentle and near. As you breathe, remember that every heartbeat is kept by grace. There is peace in surrender. There is wisdom in stillness. The eyes of the Lord are everywhere, keeping watch on the wicked and the good. These words are not meant to instill fear, but comfort. God's gaze is not that of a judge waiting to condemn, but of a father who refuses to look away. He watches not to control, but to care, not to accuse, but to protect. A person's steps are ordered by the Lord. How then can anyone understand his own way? The Father repeats this once more as he closes the lesson. Life's mystery is not meant to confuse, but to teach dependence. The wise walk with humility because they know that even when they do not see the path ahead, the one who guides them never loses sight. The Father's words fade like the last notes of a song carried on the wind. His tone becomes prayer again. Lord, teach me to walk in truth, to speak with kindness, to live without deceit, and to rest without fear. Let my plans be yours, and my peace be the fruit of obedience. Outside, the night is still. The candle burns low, its light trembling gently. The listener's breath slows as the house fills with silence. The wisdom of Solomon has done its work for this evening. It has gathered the wandering thoughts and led them back to peace. And in that peace, the heart finds its rest. The room is quiet again, filled with the hush of late evening. The Father's voice continues with gentle steadiness, flowing like a river through the valley of time. His words now linger, more softly, as if he is not just teaching but remembering. The wisdom of Solomon deepens, touching the subtleties of the heart, pride and humility, mercy and judgment, faith and contentment. The fear of the Lord leads to life. Then one rests content, untouched by trouble. These words open the lesson like dawn breaking through mist. To fear the Lord is not to live in terror, but to walk in reverence, aware of his nearness. Reverence brings rest. When the soul honors God above all else, anxiety loosens its grip, and contentment begins to bloom. The wise do not chase comfort. They find it by trusting the one who holds their days. Better a little with the fear of the Lord than great treasure with turmoil. Solomon's tone is calm, practical, yet deeply spiritual. The world prizes accumulation, but wisdom prizes balance. Possession without peace is poverty disguised. The humble meal eaten in gratitude is richer than the banquet surrounded by pride. The wise learn that joy depends not on what fills the table, but on what fills the heart. The heart of man reflects his character, but the Lord weighs the motives. The Father pauses, letting silence rest on this truth. Human judgment can see only action, but God looks deeper. Motive is the soil from which deeds grow. Even good acts lose value if planted in pride, and even small kindnesses shine when rooted in love. The wise do not strive to appear righteous. They strive to be sincere. A soft answer turns away wrath. but a harsh word stirs up anger. Solomon repeats this proverb because peace must be practiced daily. A gentle tone can heal what an argument would destroy. The one who answers softly does not lose, he wins in silence. The wise carry calmness like a shield, using kindness as strength. The human spirit can endure in sickness, but a crushed spirit who can bear. These words carry quiet compassion. The body may break, but the spirit sustained by hope endures. The crushed spirit, however, withers even in comfort. That is why the wise guard their hearts, not through avoidance of pain, but through continual trust in God's goodness. Faith gives the soul a reason to rise again when the world feels heavy. The one who guards his mouth and tongue keeps himself from calamity. The Father smiles faintly as he speaks. He knows that silence often protects where words would destroy. The wise understand that not everything true must be said, and not everything said must be remembered. Speech should be measured, seasoned with grace, guided by love. The one who guards his words guards his peace. A friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for adversity. Solomon values loyalty as one of the purest reflections of divine love. True friendship is not found in ease, but proven in hardship. The righteous stand beside the weary, not because they must, but because they care. A friend's faithfulness is a glimpse of God's own heart, constant, patient, forgiving. Do not boast about tomorrow, for you do not know what a day may bring. This truth humbles even the wise. Life unfolds under hands unseen. Tomorrow is a gift, not a guarantee. The wise live in gratitude for today, doing what is right without the illusion of control. Humility brings peace because it releases the burden of knowing what comes next. The wicked flee though no one pursues, but the righteous are as bold as a lion. Confidence without arrogance, courage without defiance, that is the strength of the righteous. Their boldness comes not from self-assurance, but from the certainty that truth stands behind them. The guilty heart runs even when unchaste. The pure heart stands still even when threatened. Where there is no revelation, the people cast off restraint. But blessed is the one who heeds wisdom's instruction. Solomon warns against living without vision. The wise seek understanding not to control destiny, but to walk faithfully through mystery. When purpose fades, discipline dissolves. Vision gives life direction, and divine revelation gives it meaning. The generous will themselves be blessed, for they share their food with the poor. The Father's tone softens here, almost tender. Generosity is not a transaction, but a reflection of the heart. The hand that gives freely holds nothing in fear. The wise give not because they have abundance, but because they know abundance begins in giving. Whoever digs a pit will fall into it. If someone rolls a stone, it will roll back on them. The Father pauses to let this truth echo. Justice works quietly in the background of life. Evil is self-consuming. Deceit destroys the deceiver. The wise do not seek revenge. They trust the balance of divine order. The truth always finds its way home. To learn, you must love discipline. It is foolish to hate correction. The wise welcome the mirror of truth, even when it reveals what they would rather not see. Correction humbles, but it also heals. God's discipline is not humiliation, it is transformation. The heart that accepts correction learns peace that arrogance can never know. A man's pride brings him low, but the humble in spirit gain honor. Solomon repeats this theme because pride is persistent. It grows in shadows, feeds on success, hides behind self-confidence. Only humility can silence it. The humble do not compete with others. They compete with yesterday's self. Their joy comes from growth, not from glory. As the Father speaks these truths, his tone slows, his breathing quiets. He allows stillness to fill the space, letting the words become part of the silence rather than an interruption of it. Then, in the calm that follows, he whispers a small invitation. Take a slow breath now. Let it enter deeply, rise, and fall. In that breath, remember that every truth you have heard tonight points toward peace, not the peace of comfort, but the peace of surrender. The fear of the Lord teaches wisdom, and humility precedes honor. This is the thread that ties every proverb together. Wisdom is not found in intellect but in reverence. The fear of the Lord is awareness of his constant care. Humility is agreement with his will. Together, they form the doorway to peace. As the candle burns lower, the Father's words fade into prayer. Lord, teach us to listen before speaking, to give before asking, to forgive before judging, to trust before understanding. Let wisdom shape our days, and peace guard our nights. Outside, the wind rests, and the night grows silent. The lesson has ended, but its echo lingers, steady and warm. In the stillness of that moment, the heart learns once more that wisdom does not shout. It whispers, and those who seek it will hear. The house grows quiet once more. The lamp flickers softly, and the Father's voice returns, calm as morning light filtering through a window. His words no longer sound like instruction alone, but like prayer woven into truth. The Proverbs that follow now explore humility, justice, mercy, and the quiet discipline that turns faith into a way of life. Each line is a path leading toward stillness. To do what is right and just is more acceptable to the Lord than sacrifice. Solomon begins this lesson with clarity. Righteousness is not ritual, it is relationship. Sacrifice may please the eyes of men, but justice pleases the heart of God. The wise understand that worship is not limited to temples or songs. It is every act done in love, every choice made in truth. Whoever pursues righteousness and love finds life, prosperity, and honor. This truth breathes gentleness. Pursuit of righteousness is not about perfection but direction. The heart that keeps turning toward what is right will always find renewal. God's blessing rests not on the flawless, but on the faithful. Pride of heart produces strife, but wisdom dwells with the humble. The Father lingers here, letting the words sink deep. Pride is noise. Humility is silence. Pride argues to be heard. Humility listens to understand. The wise prefer peace to victory, for peace is victory in God's language. Whoever shuts their ears to the cry of the poor will also cry out and not be answered. These words carry weight. Justice is not only divine, it is human. Compassion is not an emotion, but a responsibility. The wise do not give out of guilt, they give out of gratitude. To hear the cry of the needy is to echo the mercy of God himself. A gift given in secret soothes anger, and a bribe concealed in the cloak pacifies great wrath. The Father does not endorse corruption, but reveals a truth about human hearts. Kindness offered quietly can heal what confrontation cannot. The wise seek reconciliation, not attention. They give gently, unseen, believing that peace often grows in hidden soil. Better to live on a roof corner than share a house with a quarrelsome spirit. Solomon's humor carries a sigh of experience. Peace at home is better than comfort in conflict. Love without gentleness turns sharp. Companionship without humility grows cold. The wise build harmony not with grand words, but with soft patience. Whoever guards his mouth and his tongue keeps himself from trouble. The Father repeats this, knowing the tongue is a restless fire. Words once spoken cannot return. The wise keep silence, not out of fear, but out of reverence. They understand that what is unspoken in anger often becomes wisdom in time. The plans of the diligent lead to profit, as surely as haste leads to poverty. Diligence is not exhaustion, it is focus. The wise do not rush through tasks or chase endless ambition. They work steadily, trusting that slow faithfulness produces greater fruit than restless striving. Do not boast about tomorrow, for you do not know what a day may bring. Solomon's voice softens, remembering how fragile each sunrise truly is. Life unfolds by mercy, not by mastery. The wise live in the present, grateful for what is, trusting for what will be. Gratitude turns every day into worship. When justice is done, it brings joy to the righteous but terror to evildoers. The Father speaks this gently, without triumph. True justice is never cruel. It restores balance. The wise rejoice not in the punishment of the wicked, but in the protection of the innocent. Justice and mercy walk hand in hand, for both come from the same heart of God. The one who loves pleasure will become poor. Whoever loves wine and oil will never be rich. This is not condemnation, but invitation to simplicity. The wise are not slaves to appetite. They enjoy creation without being consumed by it. Simplicity brings clarity. Indulgence blurs the spirit. Better to be patient than powerful. Better to have self-control than to conquer a city. The Father repeats this old truth, his tone now almost tender. Power impresses the world, but patience impresses heaven. The wise have learned that restraint is a higher victory than conquest. He who pursues evil goes to his death. He who loves life chooses peace. Solomon reminds that every choice leads somewhere. The wise look beyond the moment. They see the destination hidden within each decision. To choose good is to choose longevity of spirit. The Lord detests double standards, but accurate weights are his delight. Honesty, once again, becomes the foundation of wisdom. Integrity is the measure of the soul when no one is watching. The wise live transparently, their yes meaning yes, their no meaning no. Such clarity becomes light to those around them. Whoever trusts in the Lord will prosper. The word prosper here means more than wealth. It means wholeness. The one who trusts does not crumble when storms come. Faith becomes their shelter. The wise learn that prosperity is peace that remains even in scarcity. Then the Father's voice slows, and he breathes softly. Take a breath now, my child. Let the air move gently in and out, like the tide resting on the shore. Every breath is a quiet prayer. Every exhale a release of worry. In this stillness, remember that wisdom is not distant. She walks beside you, even when your steps are uncertain. The righteous choose their friends carefully, but the way of the wicked leads them astray. Solomon warns that company shapes destiny. The wise seek companions who remind them of truth. Friendship becomes a form of accountability. To walk with the wise is to find stability. To walk with fools is to lose direction. A wicked person listens to deceitful lips. A liar pays attention to a destructive tongue. The Father reminds his Son that discernment is protection. The ears, like the heart, must be guarded. The wise do not feed on gossip or negativity, for what enters the mind soon fills the spirit. The glory of the young is their strength, but the splendor of the old is their gray hair. Solomon honors both youth and age, teaching that wisdom grows through seasons. Youth offers passion, age offers perspective. The wise learn to value each moment of life's journey, seeing that every stage has its sacred purpose. As the candle burns low, the Father's voice begins to fade. The words now sound more like a blessing than a teaching. May truth dwell in your mouth. May patience guard your hands. May compassion rest in your eyes. May humility keep you close to peace. And may the Lord Himself be your wisdom. Outside, the wind has grown still. The house is wrapped in silence, and the heart feels light. The lesson ends not with command, but with calm, leaving space for reflection, for rest, for prayer whispered in the dark. The candlelight glows softly against the walls, and the Father's words flow once again like quiet water over smooth stone. His tone carries peace now, not the peace of forgetfulness, but of understanding. He has spoken long of humility, honesty, diligence, and trust. Yet wisdom is infinite, and the heart always needs to be reminded. The Proverbs of Solomon continue, not as repetition but as rhythm, returning again and again to what keeps the soul upright. The Lord detests differing weights, and dishonest scales do not please Him. The Father begins this new lesson by returning to the theme of integrity. The repetition is intentional. Truth must be reinforced, for the human heart forgets easily. Honesty is not a rule but a reflection of trust. To live truthfully is to align oneself with divine balance. The one who cheats another cheats himself of peace. When pride comes, then comes disgrace, but with humility comes wisdom. Solomon has seen this pattern across all people and seasons. Pride blinds. Humility opens eyes. The proud rise quickly but fall without warning. The humble walk steadily and arrive safely. The wise prefer to be taught by correction than flattered by deceit. Those who walk with integrity walk securely, but those who take crooked paths will be found out. The Father speaks gently, not as a warning born of fear, but as a promise of light. Even in darkness, the truth eventually reveals. The one who walks honestly may stumble, but will never be lost. The crooked may hide for a season, but deception cannot outlast dawn. A gossip betrays a confidence, but a trustworthy person keeps a secret. The wise understand that loyalty is silent. Friendship is tested not by words of affection, but by the ability to protect what is entrusted. To guard a secret is to hold another's heart with care. Where there is strife, there is pride, but wisdom is found in those who take advice. Solomon knows that humility and peace are intertwined. The one who listens grows wise. The one who argues loses clarity. Wisdom listens even when it disagrees, because it values understanding over victory. A man who is kind benefits himself, but a cruel man brings trouble on his own flesh. Here, the Father reveals a hidden principle of life, that kindness is not only virtue, but protection. Cruelty wounds both the victim and the perpetrator. Every act of mercy strengthens the soul. Every harsh word weakens it. The wise are gentle because they have learned that peace within cannot live alongside harshness toward others. A generous person will prosper. Whoever refreshes others will be refreshed. These words shine like sunlight after rain. Generosity is not subtraction, but multiplication. When the heart opens, it becomes a vessel for grace. To give is to remember that everything we have is already gift. Whoever loves discipline loves knowledge, but whoever hates correction is foolish. Solomon repeats this truth often because wisdom requires humility. Correction is not an insult, it is guidance. To resist it is to resist growth. The wise welcome it, not because it is pleasant, but because it purifies. The fruit of the righteous is a tree of life, and the one who is wise saves lives. The Father's tone warms as he says this. The righteous do not live for themselves. Their presence brings healing. Their kindness plants hope. Their words build bridges where there were walls. A wise life becomes a living blessing for all who come near it. The plans of the righteous are just, but the advice of the wicked is deceitful. Solomon speaks again of discernment. The wise measure counsel not by comfort but by truth. Advice that flatters may destroy. Advice that challenges may save. To discern right from wrong is the work of prayerful stillness. Anxiety weighs down the heart, but a kind word cheers it up. The Father pauses here, his tone softening. Every person carries unseen weight. The wise do not add to it with criticism or silence. They lift it with compassion. A gentle word is not small. It can change a day, a mood, even a life. The way of fools seems right to them, but the wise listen to advice. The fool reacts. The wise reflect. The fool speaks. The wise waits. The Father smiles faintly, knowing how often impatience masquerades as certainty. The wise grow quiet when others rush to speak, for wisdom often hides in waiting. The Lord tears down the house of the proud, but he sets the widow's boundary stone in place. The righteous find protection in God's justice. He lifts the weak, steadies the humble, guards the forgotten. The wise trust his order, even when they do not understand it. Better a little with righteousness than much gain with injustice. Solomon's favorite theme returns again: contentment, rooted in honesty. The wise know that wealth without peace is a curse, but simplicity with integrity is abundance. As the Father's words slow, his tone shifts to something deeper, almost like a prayer whispered between sentences. Take a moment, he says softly. Breathe. Let the air fill your chest and release slowly. Each breath is a reminder that God sustains what he loves. You are being carried, even when you do not feel it. Let the breath remind you that life itself is mercy renewed. The name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous run to it and are safe. The Father lets the sentence linger. There is safety in surrender. The wise do not run from weakness. They run into God's strength. Trust turns fear into calm. Before a downfall, the heart is haughty, but humility comes before honor. This truth stands eternal. Pride builds walls around the heart. Humility opens doors to grace. The wise are not those who never fail, but those who fall on their knees instead of their pride. A friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for adversity. Solomon returns to friendship again, for loyalty is the heartbeat of wisdom. The one who stands with you in silence has spoken the greatest word of love. The human spirit can endure in sickness, but a crushed spirit who can bear? The Father's voice is almost a whisper now. Faith is the breath that revives the crushed spirit. The wise guard it with prayer, keeping the flame of hope alive even in darkness. As the candle's flame bends low, the Father's final words for the night flow like a lullaby. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and knowledge of the Holy One is understanding. To know God is not to master truth, but to be mastered by love. The house grows still. The heart listens, not for more words, but for silence. The sacred silence that follows wisdom when it has found its place. The listener exhales, and peace settles gently, like the close of a prayer. The night has grown deeper, and the air carries the quiet weight of reflection. The Father's voice has softened almost to a murmur now, like the steady hum of peace itself. His words drift through the silence, weaving wisdom with compassion. Every phrase feels familiar, as though the truth being spoken has always lived within the heart, waiting to be remembered. These final proverbs of Solomon begin to turn toward the eternal, where knowledge gives way to reverence and understanding matures into peace. To answer before listening, that is folly and shame. The Father begins here with one of life's simplest yet most profound lessons. Wisdom begins not with speech, but with silence. The one who listens fully becomes a vessel of peace. The one who interrupts, even in righteousness, misses what the heart might have heard. To listen is to love. It is to make space for another soul to breathe. The tongue has the power of life and death, and those who love it will eat its fruit. Solomon returns again to the power of words, for language shapes reality. The wise speak carefully, knowing that speech can heal or destroy. Every word spoken in gentleness becomes a seed of grace. Every word spoken in anger plants sorrow. The tongue, when guided by love, becomes a prayer. A person's wisdom yields patience. It is to one's glory to overlook an offense. The Father lingers on this verse, as if savoring its sweetness. Patience is not passivity. It is strength under control. To overlook an offense is not to deny hurt, but to release the burden of it. The wise know that the heart healed by forgiveness is freer than the one that demands revenge. The righteous lead blameless lives. Blessed are their children after them. Solomon here speaks of legacy. A righteous life does not only bless the present, but builds a foundation for generations. Integrity is inheritance. Wealth fades, but the memory of faith endures. The wise understand that every act of goodness plants roots that will grow long after they are gone. Whoever is kind to the poor lends to the Lord, and he will reward them for what they have done. The Father's tone grows tender. Compassion is not charity, it is communion. When one gives to those in need, one gives directly to God. The wise give not from excess, but from empathy. To share what is small is still sacred when done with love. The one who guards their mouth and tongue keeps themselves from calamity. This truth returns like a refrain. Speech, once again, becomes the measure of wisdom. The wise understand that peace often depends not on what is said, but on what is left unsaid. Silence is not emptiness. It is discipline, and it allows God's voice to be heard. A person's steps are directed by the Lord. How then can anyone understand their own way? Solomon's voice seems to fade for a moment, as if contemplating his own life. The wise accept mystery. They do not demand to understand every turn in their path. They simply walk in trust. The heart that rests in God's direction never loses its way, even in darkness. Better a little with righteousness than much gain with injustice. The Father repeats this quietly, perhaps for the 100th time, yet its truth never dulls. The peace of righteousness outlasts the pleasures of greed. Simplicity lived with gratitude is wealth of the soul. He who conceals hatred has lying lips, and whoever spreads slander is a fool. Solomon warns once more that deceit destroys from within. Hatred hidden under courtesy is poison unconfessed. The wise do not pretend to love. They seek to love truly. Truth purifies even the hardest heart. A gossip betrays a confidence, but a trustworthy person keeps a secret. Loyalty remains one of the greatest virtues. Trust is a bond woven by honesty, and once broken, it cannot easily be restored. The wise speak few words, but each word they give can be trusted like gold refined by fire. The Lord detests dishonest scales, but accurate weights are his delight. Justice is balance, fairness, without manipulation. The Father reminds that even the smallest acts of fairness mirror divine order. The wise treat others with the same sincerity they wish to receive. In their dealings, there is no hidden cost, no secret gain, only clarity that brings peace. When pride comes, then comes disgrace, but humility brings wisdom. Pride blinds the heart to its own limits. It builds walls between man and God. Humility tears those walls down. The humble do not think less of themselves. They think of themselves less. Their focus is outward, toward love, toward peace, toward service. A gentle answer turns away wrath. but a harsh word stirs up anger. The father's tone grows quieter now, his voice soft and rhythmic. Gentleness is strength, hidden in kindness. The wise have learned that anger rarely brings truth. They meet conflict not with argument but with calm. They do not need to win, only to love. The righteous person is cautious in friendship, but the way of the wicked leads them astray. Solomon returns again to the truth that companionship shapes the soul. The wise choose friends who remind them of their better nature. They walk with those who love truth more than pleasure, and peace more than pride. The heart of man plans his way, but the Lord establishes his steps. The father repeats this one last time, not as teaching but as confession. He knows this truth intimately now. Every plan he ever made found its true form only when surrendered. The wise are at peace, not because they control the future, but because they trust the one who already holds it. Then, after a moment of silence, his voice softens even further. "Take a slow breath," he whispers. "In through the nose, out through the mouth. Feel how stillness settles between each inhale and exhale. That pause is where peace lives. In that space, remember that every breath you take is grace, unearned, unending, and freely given. The fear of the Lord leads to life. Whoever rests in him will be satisfied." These are words of completeness. The journey that began in reverence ends in rest. To fear God rightly is to be aware of his constant care. The wise no longer strive to know all things. They simply rejoice in being known. As the night draws to a close, the Father's tone turns into blessing. May your heart stay humble, your words stay gentle, and your path stay straight. May wisdom walk beside you like a faithful friend. May peace cover your sleep, and mercy greet your morning. The lamp flickers once, then steadies. The house is wrapped in stillness. The listener closes their eyes, and the Father's final words drift through the quiet like prayer. The beginning of wisdom is reverence, and its end is peace. The candle burns lower now, its light trembling softly against the wooden walls. The Father's voice flows with a tone of completion, calm, yet full of reverence, as if each word carries the quiet, knowing that this teaching nears its end. The Book of Proverbs, like the rhythm of life itself, circles back to what matters most: truth, humility, kindness, and the fear of the Lord. These are not mere lessons, but ways of being, and Solomon's wisdom closes like a song returning to its first note. Do not boast about tomorrow, for you do not know what a day may bring. The Father begins gently, the familiar verse sounding softer now, almost tender. The wise live in gratitude for the present moment, not because they fear the future, but because they trust it belongs to God. Pride tries to own tomorrow. Humility gives it back. Each day, received rather than claimed, becomes sacred. Let another praise you, and not your own mouth, a stranger, and not your own lips. True honor is quiet. The wise do not announce their virtue. Their character speaks without words. A good name is not built by self-promotion, but by consistency, by the small, faithful acts that others notice long after they are done. Stone is heavy and sand is weighty, but resentment weighs more than both. The Father's tone deepens, understanding how easily the heart collects bitterness. Resentment is a silent thief of peace. The wise do not carry old hurts, they release them before they harden. Forgiveness is not weakness, it is freedom. To forgive is to remember that one has been forgiven much. Faithful are the wounds of a friend, but deceitful are the kisses of an enemy. Solomon returns to friendship once more, reminding that love sometimes confronts. The wise welcome correction, not because it feels good, but because it keeps the soul aligned with truth. The heart that listens to hard words with humility grows strong and steady. As iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. The Father smiles faintly, seeing the beauty of this truth. Companionship is sacred work. Friends shape one another in unseen ways. The wise do not seek flattery but sharpening, for it makes both stronger. In the tension of honest love, character is refined like metal under fire. The prudent see danger and take refuge, but the simple keep going and pay the penalty. The Father pauses, letting silence stretch like a breath. Wisdom does not always act boldly. Sometimes it hides quietly. Discernment is not fear, it is faithfulness. The wise act with caution, not because they doubt God, but because they respect His timing. Better open rebuke than hidden love. These words pierce with gentle truth. To love truly is to care enough to speak. The wise do not flatter when silence would wound. They speak truth, seasoned with kindness. Honesty is an act of mercy when delivered with tenderness. A person's heart reflects deep waters, but one with insight draws them out. Solomon reveals the beauty of empathy. To understand another is not to fix them, but to see them. The wise listen beneath words, hearing the unspoken, sensing what pain hides. Compassion is not pity. It is understanding joined with patience. Do not forsake your friend or your father's friend, and do not go to your brother's house when disaster strikes. Better a neighbor nearby than a brother far away. The Father's voice carries warmth here. Wisdom values proximity of the heart over blood alone. The one who walks with you in daily life may prove closer than kin. The wise nurture relationships not out of duty, but devotion. The crucible for silver and the furnace for gold, but a person is tested by the praise they receive. This verse comes quietly, yet cuts deep. Praise can purify or poison. The wise receive it with gratitude, but do not feed on it. They know that applause can become addiction. Humility keeps the heart grounded in God, not in approval. Be sure you know the condition of your flocks. Give careful attention to your herds, for riches do not endure forever. The Father returns to diligence. The wise tend to their responsibilities as acts of worship. Carefulness is not worry. It is stewardship. The one who honors the small will be trusted with the great. As water reflects the face, so one's life reflects the heart. Solomon gives a mirror to the soul. Every action is reflection, every word an image of what lies within. The wise, therefore, purify the heart, knowing that to change the world, one must first change the inner world. Death and destruction are never satisfied, and neither are human eyes. The Father sighs softly here, weary yet serene. Desire without gratitude breeds emptiness. The wise have learned to say enough, not from resignation but from reverence. Contentment is the resting place of wisdom. A righteous man walks in integrity. Blessed are his children after him. The Father's voice trembles slightly, for he knows his teaching nears its end. Integrity is legacy. The life lived in truth becomes inheritance for those who follow. The wise do not strive for greatness. They strive for goodness. The wicked flee though no one pursues, but the righteous are as bold as a lion. Courage without arrogance, that is the heart of righteousness. The wise stand firm not because they are unafraid, but because they trust that fear cannot outlast faith. Then the Father grows quiet, his words softer now, his breathing slower. He pauses long enough for silence to feel alive. Take a slow breath, he whispers. Let it fill you and fade gently. Remember that every truth you have heard tonight is not about perfection, but about presence. To live wisely is to walk humbly, love gently, and rest deeply in God's care. Many are the plans in a person's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that prevails. Solomon's refrain returns for the last time, now not as warning, but comfort. Human plans fade, divine will stands. The wise rest in this truth, trusting that even detours are part of design. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the Holy One is understanding. The Father's final words in this section carry the fullness of peace. Reverence is not fear of punishment, but awe of presence. To live wisely is to live aware that every breath, every sunrise, every mercy is a glimpse of eternity. The lamplight flickers and the room grows still. The Father's voice fades into prayer. Lord, let these words become life in us. Teach us to walk in truth, to forgive quickly, to speak softly, to live simply, to love deeply. When we fail, bring us back to you. For in you all wisdom rests, and then there is only silence, not emptiness, but completion. The listener breathes, the heart steadies, and the night becomes holy. The candle has burned low, and the night has folded into deep stillness. The Father's voice, now a whisper, carries the gentleness of final peace. His words no longer instruct, they bless. What began as lessons has become prayer, and what began as wisdom has turned to worship. The story closes, not with conclusion but with calm, as if every truth spoken has come home to rest. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the Holy One is understanding. The Father repeats this for the last time, letting it linger like incense in the air. Wisdom, he says, is not distant or unreachable. It lives here in every breath of faith, in every act of kindness, in every moment. The heart chooses peace over pride. The wise do not chase greatness, they dwell in grace. He breathes slowly, his words soft as a sigh. Life is short, but love is long. Every sunrise is mercy renewed, and every sunset is an invitation to rest. The Lord gives, the Lord guides, the Lord guards. To walk with him is to never truly be lost. The wise have learned that peace does not come from answers but from surrender. He pauses and whispers again. Take a breath. Let it enter gently, then release. Feel how even silence speaks of God. In the quiet, the soul listens, and in that listening, it understands. The heart that is still hears the softest truth of all, that wisdom is not knowledge but nearness. May your days be gentle and your nights at peace. May your words be slow and kind. May your heart remain humble enough to learn, brave enough to love, and quiet enough to hear the voice of God. When storms come, may faith be your shelter. When fear whispers, may truth answer softly. He lifts his gaze as if seeing something unseen. The path of the righteous is like the morning sun, shining ever brighter till the full light of day. The light of wisdom never fades, it grows. Each act of compassion, each moment of gratitude becomes a spark of that dawn. Even in darkness, the wise remember. The morning always comes. The candle flickers one last time. The Father smiles faintly, his final words rising like prayer itself. Lord, teach us to rest in your presence. Let your peace guard our hearts and your wisdom guide our days. Make our lives gentle mirrors of your truth. When we wake, may we walk in kindness. When we sleep, may we dream in your light. The flame fades into silence. The house is still, wrapped in holy calm. The voice has fallen quiet, but the words remain, echoing softly within the listener's heart. Wisdom rests now, not in speech, but in peace. The night has become a prayer, and the prayer has become home.